people. So today is officially No Judgment, No Stigma Day. Today is the day where we really push hard and we focus on how do we eradicate stigma when it comes to mental health.
My name is Calvin Brown. I'm a peer support specialist when you are ready. And this Tuesday is Fentanyl Overdose Awareness Day. So we're going to be out canvassing the city of Baton Rouge, handing out a lot of resources to see if we can prevent a lot of these overdoses that's happening. And the people that are being affected by it.
May is Mental Health Awareness Month. Actually, this week is Children's Mental Health Awareness Month. I'm just here to say that mental health is so important to talk about. It's so needed.
What's good, everybody? Happy Wednesday. Day almost over. So excited that you could have been doing a whole lot of other things. And the fact that you guys decided to fill this space with us and be with us, we don't take for granted. On behalf of the Set Free Indeed team, when you're ready, and all of the amazing panelists that you're going to hear from, I just want to say thank you. We're super excited about this conversation. We're going to keep it raw. We're going to keep it real. And you already know we're going to be real relevant. We wanted to have this conversation because, as you guys know, or most of you might not know, that today is the last day of May. And May is Mental Health Awareness Month all around the country. And so we have been doing some incredible things throughout the month of May. That's a story for another day. But this is not just something that we do for May. This is something that we do 365 days a year. For some of us, Mental Health Awareness Month is a conversation. It's a time to talk about mental health. It's a time to talk about awareness and stigma and having conversations like this and going out and do outreach. Well, we're about that life every day. And again, for most of us on this panel, this is our life. What do I mean by that is that we live this 365 days a year. My name is Tanja Miles. I'm your host tonight. I am so glad you're here. I promise you this will be a fun time. It's going to be serious. Trigger warning. Some of you guys might be triggered by some of the conversations that you might hear. If you are, it's okay to breathe. It's okay to maybe step back, go take a brain break and, resume the conversation with us. If not, you can, we'll be airing this all over the place. So you'll get a chance to see it again if you miss it this time, because if it's too much, that's okay. And it is a lot. I'm not going to lie. It's serious conversation, but as you guys who know me, I love to laugh and I think I am funny as heck. And so I'm going to be the comic relief tonight and also your host. The reason why, like I said, we wanted to have this time is that we want to keep this conversation going. We want to scream hope out loud. There's so many things that's going on in our community and country that will put us in fear, doubt, unbelief. And that will mess with anybody's mental wellness. We also know that we're still kind of on the, opposite side of COVID, and what COVID did, in our country and community, we haven't experienced before. And so some people are still having some challenges for that. I mean, just think about it. We went from being social and hugging and hanging out and having a good time to on lockdown. And, for some of us, that was difficult. For a lot of us, it was, because we had to learn how to navigate through this whole new, space in our country where, now we're in our homes, and or we thinking about kids in school, that's their community and they're cut off from that. Or some of those kids, that's their only meal that they get throughout the day. I mean, that's real talk. And or what about, those who like myself own businesses? I mean, I ain't getting no bailout. I'm just saying for real, for real. Everybody talk about, um, small businesses and middle class, and we are so important. Yeah, I learned then, baby. That's a different story. But anyway, but that messed with people's psyche. I knew some people who, run businesses and things of that nature, and their business went under. I mean, that's real, So imagine what that will do to their mental health. And that's what we're talking about. Mental health. We're gonna break that thing down, because a lot of times people think that, mental health is one thing or mental wellness is another, having a mental health diagnosis. And at the end of the day, it's all about stigma. How do we address stigma? How do we have these conversations? First of all, inside our home, because my mama always told me that charity begins at home and spreads abroad. So that's cool to have these conversations like this. But baby, if we're not having them in our house, then we have to kind of, we have to have those conversations. I mean, just, with social media and our phones, and when we come inside with our families, when the last time we said, well, look, we're just gonna break bread and we're just gonna sit down and I'm gonna ask you a question, how you doing? For real, for real. And if you don't think you get a good answer, then we're gonna tell you, how to lean in some more. Cause look, I used to tell people all the time, I'm good, I'm good, I'm good. And one day I was talking to my nephew and I'm like, hey, how you doing, Trey? I'm good. The next day, how you doing, Trey? I'm good. And I'm like, hold up, that sounds so familiar. And so the next day I said, Trey, how you doing? I'm good. I'm like, Trey, can you define good for me? And it was not good. And so we began to have a conversation, and it opened up a beautiful dialogue around mental health and depression and anxiety. Being a person with a lived experience, my lived experience comes from trauma that went untreated as a child and a whole lot of other stuff. And people always ask me, Tanja, wow, your story is compelling and I feel so sorry for you. I'm like, no, don't feel sorry for me. It's all good. But I do sometimes feel sorry for my parents who are no longer with me, because they did not know what to do with their little Black girl who had this beautiful smile, who used to love entertaining people, who wanted to sing on Broadway, who was going to sing on Broadway. I knew I was, for real, because I had that talent, but life happened. And when those series of events of molestation and rape and drugs and all the other stuff happened, the trauma was no joke. And I didn't know what it was. I mean, sometimes people used to say, Tanja, you're acting a fool. Or people used to say, Tanja, what the hell is wrong with you? Nobody asks what happened to you, because clearly I was this little girl who was vibrant, who loved to entertain people, who liked to make people smile and liked to make people laugh. And I became this monster. And I used to always say, she died and nobody grieved for her. And so not until maybe 6 years ago, I had to go back to the scene of the crime. And I had to get little Tanja back and to let her know it was not your fault. It was not your fault, because so many years I lived punishing myself. Why didn't I tell somebody? Why didn't I beat him up? And I always blame me. And so that blame turned into shame. And I lived most of my life trying to die because I hated the skin that I was in. And even though my parents tried to put me in different organizations and things like that, and because I love to fight, I know y'all find that really hard to believe, but I don't mind a good fight. And so my dad, put me in karate, and they put me in talent shows and all this stuff like that, just trying to help me find my voice. And so now that, fast forward some 30 years later, I have my voice back, and I plan to use that, for good and not evil. And so I just want to say thank you guys. And so many people have experience like mine or not. And that's why this is no cookie cutter conversation, because what might work for someone else might not work for you. And that's okay. If medication is not the way to treat your mental health, it's okay. If it is, it's okay. If it's not, then there are other techniques and there are other things that you can do to help you create your space of wellness. And we're going to talk about that. And so that's why we have so many legit and amazing panelists with us tonight. And like I said, these guys are legit. They're doing the thing. And the fact that they're with us, I just want to say thank you. So we're going to get this party started. And, you know, when we talked about continuing this conversation, there are many ways we have to have this conversation. We have to have it through arts. We have to have it through, you know, spoken word. We have to have it through social media and TV and just conversations, sitting down with friends. Hey, how you doing, on the check-in? And just so many different ways we can be creative in sharing our story of hope and pushing out resources. But at the end of the day, it's so good to hear people who have been through stuff, who can now encourage us that, you know what, it's going to be okay, for real, for real. Just some few facts right quick. 1 in every 4 Americans 18 or older have a mental health diagnosis. Now, let me just tell you this. When I looked that up, it says suffer from mental health. I'm like, oh, I ain't suffering, you know? So, okay, we're gonna have to change that, but that's stigma. And also 1 in 5 of every, you know, person under 18, you know, has suffered from a mental health. See, again, that word suffer, have had challenges for mental health. And so our kids are in trouble. Our babies are in trouble. We have to talk to them. We have to give them coping skills and techniques. We have to give them things that they can do to express themselves, to be heard. Because when you silence someone, it's almost like you're taking, you know, they're on fire, but it's a great fire and they're burning and they have all this zeal. And then we take water and we just whoosh it on them and just put their fire out. We can't do that anymore. We have to let people know that we hear you, we validate your feelings. There's hope, there's healing, there's resources. And so you're going to hear some ways that we're going to continue this conversation with, I know some people that's, that I believe that's, you know, on this journey with me, because at the end of the day, we're not playing. This is serious. This is not a hashtag. It's not something that's trending. Oh, self-care is the best care, baby. That's a lifestyle. And so we're going to go ahead and start. And I'd like to start this off with, I heard a song by Lady Gaga and it just really blessed my soul. And so I can sing a little bit, but I cannot dance. And so when I heard this song, I just, it made me feel hopeful. And I was able to share this song with some people that was going through some stuff. And so we have with us our special guest. Some of you guys might know who he is. If you don't, you will by the end of this. When I talked to this brother, I asked him to commission a piece specifically for this song, and he did not flinch. He jumped on it and said, I got you. And so his gifts and talent is amazing. His storytelling is phenomenal, and you don't have to believe me. You're going to see it yourself. Miho is one of the best dancers that I've seen, and he's going to tell you why he's so talented and brilliant at his craft. So guys, enjoy this piece, because at the end of the day, you're not the only one. Wow. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, Miho, hey, how you doing? Thank you for joining us, brother.
Thank you for having me on this platform. Oh my God, Tanja Miles, thank you so much. It's so funny to watch myself dance. I don't do that often. I don't watch myself. I usually watch a lot of other talent. So thank you for having me on this platform. Thank you for that.
Well, first of all, I mean, thank you. So wow, that was incredible. I mean, you know, it was hard not to watch and just, you know, just feel your emotions, and you tell that story of that song and how folks like me and, you know, and I can speak for a few people on a call that I know when we've been in places like that, and, you know, we have just sat there with each other in some of the darkest times just to get each other through the night, just to know someone there was to hold my hand. So that speaks volumes. But let's talk about you. We're going to talk about your, you know, your craft and gift later, but you know, for the next 3 minutes, you know, tell us your government name, because I can say it, but I'm probably going to slaughter it, and I don't want to do that. So just tell us, you know, more about you and who you are and your background.
Definitely. My name is Joe Artis Ratty. Yeah, Joe Artis. My mother definitely she threw that out there. She was like, "This boy is gonna be an artist." Nah, but my mom name is C. Artis Branch Ratty, and my father name is Jose Alberto Ratty. So it's a combination of both of my parents, taking the Jose, the Jo from my father name, and the artist from my mother name. But yeah, I'm from Los Angeles, California. I was born there, but I say I was raised. Yeah, I was raised in America. I lived in a couple of places. My father's from Puerto Rico, so there was a time where, yeah, my household with my mother. I didn't grow up with my father, but I lost both of my brothers early. So my mom was kind of just going through a lot. We were moving a lot, so I was living with my cousins. I stayed with my grandma, but I spent a long period of time in Puerto Rico. So that's where Mijo comes from. If you're even wondering, like, why is this black boy named Mijo? Why does he have a Spanish name? Yeah, my father is Puerto Rican, so yeah, I'm Taino, Indian, Spanish, and Afro Rican. So I'm a combination of what makes Puerto like black Puerto Ricans over there. But yeah, I grew up in Los Angeles in the 90s. The 90s is crazy in Los Angeles. There was a lot of in my neighborhood, a lot of gang violence. So that was like really hyper active at the time. So um, the community of dance and sports is what kind of occupied me and gave me a lot of light and a lot of ambition to work towards. So those are the two things that I gravitated towards early was football and the community that I had of dance and street dance is what I'm talking. It wasn't any studio dance. Like I didn't grow up in
Right.
a studio. So Los Angeles had a huge dance community, but it was very concentrated. So like it wasn't popular in other spots. This dude named Thomas Johnson. He's responsible for this company called Tommy the Clown. And he gave a lot of kids opportunities. There's a movie called Rise for anybody that
Right.
is interested to know about some South Central culture. Tommy the Clown up to this day is giving kids a huge platform to just express, to
Sure.
just find themselves, express, use social dance and compete with. He came up with this idea called Battle Zone that ended up blowing all of our minds. It's like, oh my God, this is another lane to compete. Like we just don't need sports.
Sure.
Like, yeah, like this is something huge. Uh, but through his culture of dance, um, he has helped so many people find their voice. In the
Sure.
midst of us finding our voice, a couple of us completely changed the style around and came up with another style called crump dancing. So crump dancing like derived from clown dancing, and it actually shows in Rise like the growth of this dance culture. It shows like hints of clown dancing in the beginning, and then a really crazy phase of like stripper dancing, which is another beautiful art in Los Angeles that I'm fond of, and that like helped us find um, things to create our own language.
Sure.
And then Crump came out of that, and from there, a movie came out of nowhere, which was Rise, and gave a lot of us early. I was like 16, 15, 16 opportunities to like teach globally. So like that was like my first time really getting a passport and understanding that process and going overseas and teaching. Um, so that kind of like, that helped cultured me really early to know at least the power of um, believing in manifestation and dance and expression. Um, but other than that, I also had the goal of going to school and playing football. Like I loved ball unbelievably. That was like one of my first loves. I started playing football at the age of 7.
Sure.
I graduated from University of Idaho, so I kept that dream all the way along with the idea of dance, and I kind of just married the two and really start to understand the importance of both. Like if I'm playing ball, I have to understand that, you know, the physical idea of like speed and power isn't just what sports is about, but angles and rhythm, all of that plays a huge component in having an advantage on the field.
Right. Well, let me just say this. One of the things that you told me that I thought was cool, and I thought, and it's just me from an outsider, is that, you know, I think you went to school for a communicator. And so how cool is that? Because you're this excellent communicator, you know, through, you know, movement and through, you know, dance and stuff like that. But let me just tell people, you know, before we move on, and we're going to come back to you, Mio, but this is how, you know, again, you know, I love these divine connections. And so, you know, let me just break the ice and tell you how we met. So I am trying to mind my own business. And so me and Jules, we were at the Grand Hotel, and the Grand is one of my favorite places. And so we went and got a massage, and I was, you know, just coming out of my CBD massage, and, you know, and so when we got the massage, then we went into the steam room. And so I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, I'm not working. This is my time. I don't have to think about any crisis or nothing. This is just, I can just enjoy my space. And then Jules and these ladies start talking, and they start talking about suicide. I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm trying to just chill. I ain't trying to hit it. I just want to be, come on, y'all, come on. So anyway, so I was already feeling some kind of way. So then we walked out, and we're getting ready to go and have tea, because the Grand has one of the best tea experience. I love tea. Just so we clear, I'm ratchet refined and raw, and I love tea. I have a tea room in my house. I love the art of taking tea, you know, for real, for real. And so anyway, so I'm like, let's just go have tea. So we're coming out, and so we're checking out. And so, you know, I have this thing that if I don't make eye contact with you, I think I'm invisible. That's just a thing I did when I was a little kid, because I wanted to be invisible, you know, when I wasn't on stage. And so I was trying to be invisible. And so I'm watching the guy, we're checking out. And so I see Jules, who's my girl, who talks to everybody. And so I see her talking to somebody, and I'm like, okay, don't make eye contact. Just don't even engage. Just keep talking. And then I'm like, oh, that's a brother. And I'm like, oh, a Black person in Salt Lake, you know, but I'm like, that's interesting. So anyway, so again, I'm trying to be invisible. And so they in a conversation. And so I'm just kind of walking, trying to get water, not looking at them, not making eye contact. And so then I'm just trying to back off. And so, you know, this young man said, hello. And at first I thought he was trying to be funny, because he knew I broke the code. Because you know how you see another Black person, there's not a lot of Black people around. And you know how we do it, you know, like another one. You know, I didn't do that. And so I thought he was being funny, because I was trying not to act like I saw him, because I'm trying to get out of here. Y'all talk, I'm trying to go to get some tea. And so anyway, so then I felt bad, because I'm like, oh, he busted me. Because, you know, and I wasn't rude, but I was just like, I'm not trying to talk. And so anyway, I'm like, oh, I gotta talk. So, hey, what you do? How you do? What you doing? How you doing? What's your life like? Okay. And then Jules talking, and he's like, I'm the co-creator of Crump. Oh my God, what is that? And I'm like, Jules, let's go, I'll tell you later. Anyway, so then I'm like, okay, Tanja. So yeah, you're okay. Where are you from? And then we start talking, and that's how we engage in the conversation. But here's how when it got real, you know, after, you know, that, you know, because I don't think I was rude. You can tell me later if I was. Okay. So anyway, I don't think I was, but anyway. So then we, you know, I think, you know, I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna look you up on IG, and I think, you know how people do it. Yeah, I'm gonna check you out. And so I think a couple of days later, I wasn't supposed to be on, you know, social media. And so I went, and soon as I popped on, he popped on, and he was crying. And so I go into, you know, mental health professional mode, and I'm just like, hey, how you doing? Look here, I know you don't know me and know if you remember me, but I just saw your IG page. Are you okay? I'm not trying to get in your business. I'm a mental health professional. Are you okay? And he was just like, yes, I'm okay. You know, I was just journaling, and it brought up some emotions, and I got triggered, and people don't see, you know, men cry. And I'm like, oh, that's so great. Tell me your story. And that's how this whole conversation and this friendship began. You remember that?
Do
Did I
absolutely.
say it? Did I say how it really happened?
That's how it happened. That's exactly how it happened.
So why did you feel so vulnerable to just talk about or go on social media and cry?
Just as simple as you said it, like especially in my community, or the community that I'm involved in, we're pretty young. Like I'm considered as an original, which is an OG, and I'm 37, 38 years old. So a lot of the dudes after me are pretty young males. And in our community nowadays, like masculinity, that is something that is like always perceived as like, um, yeah, not vulnerable, like always masking or, saving that for a time of like, um, yeah, something that is
Or
just not seen to everybody else. So I think those emotions in this day and age, with a person of my background, they need to see someone going through trials and feeling the regular flows of life and not being ashamed of that. So that was like kind of what I was on. And I'm currently going through a process of like, yeah, I'm reaching back and I'm journaling because I have a project that I'm trying to finish. Like I have a director that's interested in putting together a autobiography on myself. So like I'm digging up things that I think needs to be brought up. So at that moment, it just felt really good to do what I always do, which is be vulnerable in front of my community and share. So it
right.
really helped. It helped a lot of dudes, a lot of guys DM'd me and was like, "Yo, you're feeling like this. I would love to share what I'm currently going through since you were so able to be vulnerable," and it brought up a lot of conversations that end up being healthy later on down the line.
Okay, well, cool. And we're going to talk about crump some more, and specifically a piece that we're all probably familiar with that went viral. I'd like to introduce to you guys someone I've been knowing for a while, and that's Dr. Chuck Browning. Chuck Browning is brilliant. He is passionate. He is smart. He is the medical director of RI International, among other things. He's a sought after speaker. I think we're on the same, are we on the same? I think we're on the same speaker circuit. I think we are, right, Chuck? Yeah, we are. But he is amazing. And so, Dr. Chuck, let's just get into it. When we talk about mental health, I think people, because of the stigma, people think a person who has a mental health diagnosis, that mean they're crazy. Can't stand that. Or, if people are going through, depression, because there's different kind of depressions. That's situational. There could be other stuff. It doesn't mean that, you're diagnosed. It could just mean that you're having a bad day, or you lost a loved one, or you lost a job, or life happened. And that could just, you having to put your mental health in check. Or it could be folks like me who actually have a mental health diagnosis. And so let's just talk about mental health in general and why, Doc, you think the stigma is such a challenge.
Thank you so much, Tanja, for having me on here. I'm looking at on this panel of all these beautiful, handsome people, and I'm noticing something about myself that's very different. I am old looking compared to this group. So this is tough. This is tough. So seriously, on that question, when we talk about stigma, Tanja, I think, I hear a lot of people actually switch in the language, not just to use the word stigma, that we have to treat discussions and the way that we create systems of care for people with mental health issues as discrimination when it's done in not equal parity of care. And so I think the honest truth, I think the biggest thing, Tanja, is fear. We have, if you really know about it, we have good treatments for mental health. Like you said, combinations of medications, therapies, recovery approaches, ways to think about your life and getting meaning and purpose and people in it. It's our system that really is not very good. If we did anywhat close to the same things that we do for diabetes, HIV, other chronic illnesses, that we've really made improvements in the way we care for it as a system in our country, we'd be way further along than where we are. We're decades behind with mental health. And so there, like you said, there's a lot of stigma, and we have not had that approach to it, because we wouldn't be having this conversation about different types of medical illnesses in the same way as you just did, talking about anxiety and trauma and people having serious mental illness like schizophrenia and things like that versus those other things. So it's where we have been, and thank goodness is becoming easier and easier, and stigma is breaking down. We're seeing more things on TV, more people with voice and celebrity voice speaking about things like that, unbelievable tragedies that shine light on that as well. And so you put all those things together, and it from a sense of hope, I do think that we've seen a greater push to have changes in that system than we've had in a long time. And I know you and I are excited to be a part of that movement with 988 and trying to push forward. One last piece about the stigma is, so much of a problem in our country as we've shifted care through the systems that we've created to force law enforcement into being the primary connection of care and support in the community for mental health issues. And the mental health field let down, not by creating a system that's the first encounter that people often have when they're in crisis or having challenges. So you do that, and then we end up with situations where people are not engaged or scared to get into care, scared to have a voice that it's okay to go get help. And then we end up having more people in jails and prisons and homeless than the same amount as we have with serious mental illness that are actually in treatment. So it's those are some of the things we've gotten to through the system that we've created that we need to change.
Right. Right. And I want to break that down right quick, because again, when we're talking about stigma, I think a lot of times people think that it just happens to one demographic of people. And most of the people that we see on the street, they're homeless and, they have a mental health issue. In all actuality, a lot of them do, but they also have some co-occurring issues, which means they have some substance abuse issues as well. And so, we think of, if you come out and say you're depressed, you have anxiety or schizophrenia. And look, I know schizophrenia, that's one of the ones that scare everybody, but we have to talk about that even, in every community, but particularly, when it comes to like young men, we know that the stats say that, early psychosis happens, in that 2019. And so, that's something, if we're warning parents about other things, we might, want to do more to get that out. And those are the kind of things that we're doing. But the other thing is that because you're suffering with depression does not mean you have a mental health diagnosis. Like I said, it could be situational, and there's different layers. And I think that's where people kind of get etchy, because nobody wants to be labeled. I get that, there's different ways, and we're going to hear about different ways some of our panelists get through, if they're having anxiety or, things like that, like breathing techniques. But let me just say this right quick. So like this week, for example, I'm not going to call the station or the person, and some of you guys know where I'm going to go with this, but again, wasn't supposed to be on social media. As soon as I hit it, there was a video came up, and basically the guy said this, is that you can't have faith and have anxiety. You can't have both, because if you have anxiety, that means you don't have faith. And that triggered me so bad that, it took me 2 days to calm myself down with a lot of talk therapy. And then he said this, and then the guy asked him, so tell him what you said about medication. He's like, oh, medication, you don't need medication. All you need is conversation. It's conversation over medication. And that just kind of hit me. And like I said, it threw me into such a trigger, not just for myself, because I have experienced people thinking like that, but I thought about this show has 37 million followers. And if out of that 37 million followers, if only 100,000 heard that, and if 50,000 of those folks who are having anxiety, then basically you just told them, and you are LPC, you basically just told them that you don't need medication. All you need is God. And that's why you have anxiety. Care to collaborate on that?
I do. It's a real challenge because we have some myths and lack of information about multiple different kinds of treatment and things that are out there, both medication and non-medication. And then also in my world, I'm a psychiatrist, and we've been very, sometimes guilty as an industry.
Excuse me, wait, you're a psychiatrist?
Yes.
Is that AKA a quack doctor?
I try to have really good recovery language, Tanja.
No, I mean, really, but hold up. But see, but that's what I'm saying, going back to stigma. You ain't a quack doctor. I mean, for real, but that's what make it hard for people to come and see a psychiatrist. But if I was having issues with my heart, I'm calling my cardiologist. If I had issues with
that.
Right.
Yeah.
Or if I had issues with my eyes, I'm going to see my eye doctor. But when you tell somebody, I got to go see a psychiatrist.
Or if your pancreas isn't making insulin and you have diabetes, nobody's going to be fussing at you about taking insulin to help treat that and stay alive and care for yourself. And yet for some people can have symptoms that medications can make a really big impact. It's not that medications are the only thing, and it definitely can't be the only thing in our system for caring for people, but they can be a really helpful tool in some cases. But then on the other hand, like I said, our industry's been guilty of sometimes of making that the only thing that we offer and not really offering a whole health-based approach in our system of how we treat people. So it's both. We need to have both, but related to the stigma, you're so right in terms of needing to change that dynamic.
Yeah. Well, Dr. Ricard, I'd like to, kind of have you chime in on that same question, when I was talking about the person who I saw doing this interview and, what they said. How do you feel about that as a therapist, as a licensed mental health professional who that's what you do 24 hours, 7 days a week, basically, because you're never off. You're one of the most busiest people that I know, and you do it well. As a licensed therapist, how does that make you feel?
I'll say too, and I'm also in ministry, and that has always been something that I've seen over the years, especially in more so in the Black community, in that, people will tell you I grew up in the church, and, most of the time church has been the main source of managing mental health for years. And, licensed therapists just wasn't a thing over the years. We just now getting some space. People feel some type of way when they have to go see someone outside of their pastor or a church leader, and we just hadn't been accepted. And so now that more conversations are taking place, we are able to get more treatment in terms of reconciling the idea that I can still have a faith and still deal with some mental health stuff. I can have anxiety and still believe in God. I can be depressed and still believe in God, and just like Dr. Chuck was saying, that we see specialists for everything else, but when it comes to our mental health, we don't go see someone for our mind. And I always say God made the doctor, God made the therapist, God made all these people, and we just have to start being more accepting that the two can exist at the same time. Two things can be true at once.
Yeah, because I always say, you can have a script and a scripture, and you can have Jesus and a therapist, baby. They go hand in hand, for real. Because, and let's talk about that. So we have, Dr. Chuck, who's a psychiatrist, and mostly a psychiatrist space is in, research and of course treating and, to give a diagnosis, and a prescriber. Those are the people who prescribe, the medications, or if might not need that, whatever course that you and your doctor decide, because it has to be you as well. But as a licensed therapist, are you excited that people are talking about therapy now, that going to therapy, that therapy ain't scary? What are you seeing?
To be honest, it has taken its own trend. And I will say there are pros and cons to that. So you have some people who just like saying they have a therapist. They come to therapy and I say, hey, tell me what brings you here. I don't know. And they say, well, you're just gonna have to pull it out of me. I'm like, okay. So you have those, and then you also have people who have just, I need to talk with someone. Other people are talking about it. They're seeing it popping up on social media. The thing that makes it hard for me is that I'm not a TikTok therapist. So I don't look for the best trending statement to say every other day. And so most people come into my counseling space with the trending therapy in mind, and they're not really doing this work. The real underneath work and the root causes. So they want something quick. They want, me to say something, that's aha. And I'm like, no, we're going to go through this biopsychosocial. We're going to get down to your attachment wounds. We're going to get down into some ego work, some inner child, some trauma. And they're like, oh, okay. So because they have the TikTok and the Instagram therapy, and then they come here and it's time to do and peel back those layers. So I say it has its pros and cons. I just like that they're getting here. and I can kind of work with them on creating appropriate expectations around the therapy process and the therapy relationship. But they are getting here.
Right. So when do you think it's time, that is two questions before we move on, but when do you think it's, a person should really reach out and say, you know what, I think I need to talk to someone outside of my family or friends, because my family or friends, they love me, but they're not therapists. They can encourage me, they can support me, but sometimes it's just like I need a little bit more. So when is the right time to reach out?
I would say we need to just make therapy like maintenance. It's just like I don't want to make it around situations, because then who's the judge of when it gets bad or worse? That's all subjective. I would say it just needs to be ongoing. Like keep an open door with your therapist, depending on your needs. You may need once a month at first, but just go. Don't have a reason. Even if you have nothing going on, just call and say, hey, I just want to stay in contact with myself. I want to have healthy conversations with myself, and I like the space to be created for that to happen. And sometimes that space is not with family. They have an angle, they have a version of you that just may be different than your version. So I think just not doing away with the situational approach to therapy, but just for those who may not know, like, oh, I don't have anything going on, still call, still make the call, still go. And you just might be surprised what you may find.
Right. That's so cool. It really is. So my other question before we move on to our panelists, and you're going to hear some amazing stories in a minute, is that, how do you find the right therapist? Well, let me just say this. Let me just put that out, this disclaimer out here. For me, I think that we really, really need to encourage people that, your therapist needs to be licensed. And that's for so many different reasons. Like I said, your brain is just like any other organ in your body. And I was talking earlier about when I had to go back to the scene of a crime, and that was through EMDR. And I'm gonna tell you, at first I was not a fan of EMDR. I thought it was a little out there, and I'm like, I'm not doing that. And then when I realized I got to, I got to do something about this trauma, because I wasn't properly diagnosed until like maybe 8 years ago. And then when the pain had a name, I felt like, see, I'm not crazy. I'm just broken. My brain, because I got misdiagnosed. They thought I had MS, went to Atlanta to spend a lot of money. And they're like, nope, you've been misdiagnosed. And I came back home and I'm like, it must be a brain tumor. And so then we did all these tests and they was just like, no, it's not a brain tumor. And I'm not going to lie, when I got the diagnosis of PTSD, it made me free. But then sometime I wish that it was a brain tumor instead of PTSD, because people treat you different and the struggle is real in that area. And so when I went to find a licensed therapist, I wanted to make sure, because again, I'm in that space. I needed to make sure that they were licensed, that they knew what they were doing, that they did not get their degree, from a creditable, school. And why is all that important? And just trying to find the right fit for you.
It guides our practices. We have ethics. We have continuing education hours we must carry over for, to continue to see clients. You can see our credentials on the Louisiana Board of Examiners of Counselors. You get to see the professionalism of each therapist. So I think that's very important, to make sure that, and I just on a side note, I am certified in EMDR. So when you mentioned that, I was like, wow, like somebody actually has gone through that process, which is a lot of hard work, by the way, when you want to meet yourself and going through that process of finding you without the ego stuff, and it's just you in a very authentic space. That can be very overwhelming, because most of what we do is ego driven, because we have to maintain our social interactions. So when we are not being ego driven to maintain social interaction, just be with ourselves, that is not as fun as people may think it is, but it's very much worth it. So to that point, I think finding someone who has specialization in certain practices to lead you down the path of healing is very, very important, so that they are governed by a professional board in case there's something that goes awry. You get to, like I said, file a complaint. You know, who's to file a complaint against whom if you're just a shade, what my mom called a shade tree mechanic, a shade tree therapist. So you want to make sure that they have those licensures in place.
Right, and they understand HIPAA and confidentiality. Because, baby, let me just tell y'all this. So there's a lot of powerful people on this panelist. I'm gonna keep it real. I mean, powerhouses, but y'all cool, y'all my people. But Dr. Chuck and Dr. Chris, let me just say this: they have the power to PEC. And for those of us who've been PEC'd and OPC'd, oh my goodness. And so don't mess with them. I'm just saying, they bad to the bone. When I'm in a room with a bunch of, you know, LPCs and psychiatrists, I'm on my best behavior because I'm not trying to go there again. I'm just saying. So, you know, Doc, I'm always be on my best behavior around you, you know, because I ain't trying to get PC today. Just saying. Just saying. Anyway, but you know, so we've heard, you know, from two of, I think one of the always the smartest people in the room, and you're going to hear back from them about, you know, stats and how do you know, what's the difference between a psychiatrist and talk therapy and why you should get a therapist and all of that stuff. But let me just shift this a little bit and let's talk to some people who have some lived experience. And I'd like for, you know, each of them to just to take 3 minutes and just to kind of share, you know, whatever they feel led to and why they're so passionate about doing this work and their lived experience. And, you know, the first person I'd like to introduce you to is Juno. Juno is an amazing guy. He works with NAMI and he does a lot when it comes to HBCUs and mental health. And so, Juno, thank you for being on the panel. What's good, fam?
What's up, fam? I appreciate you having me, man. Wow. Number one, I just have to acknowledge the greatness that's on my screen in front of me. I'm humbled to be among such a great panel of folks. Dr. Chuck, I'm sure I'm closer to your age than some of the younger folk that are sharing the panel with us. So I hear what you're saying. I don't know if you can see this white hair coming in and the beard. I started to shave, but my mama likes it. So that's what's up. But man, by trade, my job is that I am NAMI's national manager of HBCU and Black community engagement and special projects. And that involves taking NAMI to places that we mostly haven't been or weren't at enough or consistently, and trying to build some bridges and make some connections and things. My background, I'm not a subject matter expert in mental health. I don't have paper that says that. My degree is in African American culture. I was a rapper for many years, and I didn't want to be, you know, one of those, you know what I'm saying, dudes, when I got on Arsenio, and I'm dating myself by saying that, but that's what it was back in those days. So I went and got this degree so I could try to help some people when I got my record deal and I was shining like that. And that never came to pass. So perhaps the most important thing I sit in is a Black man with a severe depression diagnosis for the better part of 30 years now. When I was originally diagnosed, 92, 3, somewhere in there, I didn't do anything about it because that just wasn't something Black dudes did back then. So, you know, when I look and I see Marcus and Miho and Soul over there, and it's like, man, y'all just out here. Like, yeah, this is me. This is what I'm dealing with. This is what I'm living with. That's encouraging to me because I didn't see anybody that looked like me when I thought about trying to get some help. There weren't nobody in a clinic, nobody on a phone line that sounded like me when I called the couple times that I called thinking I might want to try to do something about it. So I did what a lot of us do, which was, you know, smoke this, drink that, hang out with these people over here, whatever I got to do not to feel how I'm feeling. Those are the things I did. And as I was in that valley and at my lowest low, I won't get into the details, but when I didn't want to be here no more, let's just say that, I reached out and I thought about my grandmother and that somebody was going to have to tell her that I had done what I had done, and given what she had been through as a Black person in Virginia in segregation time, you know, how was I not able to cope? Like, that would have destroyed her, and I didn't want that on me. So I moved through it as best I could, and I made a deal with my God, and I don't claim to know what God looks like or his intents, but I know that me and my God have an understanding. And I said, you know, if you bring me through this, if you put me in a place where I actually want to be here, where I want to live, not just don't want to die, that's a different thing. But when I want to live, I promise you, I'll do whatever I can do to make sure that nobody else feels like I felt.
Come on.
And lo and behold, after many years of working at NAMI in the mailroom and doing print shop stuff and admin stuff, and COVID done closed the world down, and they put Big George on the pavement. And I promise you, this cloud opened and this ray of light came down out the sky and it touched me on my shoulder. I said, it's time to go, bro. You made me a promise. Well, now it's time for you to deliver.
Right.
I had a conversation with the head of NAMI and said, bro, I got this degree and I need to do this work. And if I can't do it here, I'm gonna find somewhere else to do it. And that's how I got to be where I am. That's how I came to know all of you. And
Yeah.
if there's ever any place, Tanja, I'm not going to tell the story of the conversation you and I had.
Don't do it. Don't
when we
do
came to
it.
Southern the first time, but you know what I'm talking about. This is personal for me. So
Yeah.
I just appreciate y'all. I appreciate all of you and all of your journeys. Thank you.
Yeah, we're gonna hear from you some more, during this session. But thank you for sharing and being authentic. So Cole, I met you and Marcus. I don't know, it feels like a couple of months ago, but it feels like a long time. And you guys so graciously came down to the symposium that we were having here in Baton Rouge, and that's when I met So Cole, and so one of the smoothest brothers. And you know me, I've been trying to get a rise out of everybody, but I'm still working on that. I'm gonna get you, brother, because you'll see. He's all cool and calm. Yeah. I'm like, bruh, it's a party. Yeah, it's a party, Tanja. Yeah, it is. So Cole, how you doing?
Good evening. I am well. Thank you for asking. Peace and love to everybody that's on this call. It's good to be here. So yeah.
Well, let me just say this: your background, all y'all got good background, but yours is like giving me a whole lot of vibe right now. So I'm trying not to rock back and forth. But so, why are you so passionate about this work?
Because you talked about it, it's that lived experience. I live, through this. It's something that, and to Juno's point as well, I didn't see the representation either. And I feel there's a need now more than ever for our young brothers, especially, to see each other in this space. And the platform that I have, the platform that my brother Marcus has, we tag teaming this thing together to really, be that bridge and let them know that it's okay not to be okay, because we have not been okay. Right. It's, we have our dark days and nights, and they don't just go away, just by prayer all the times. Right. They just don't go away, just by wishing and hoping. Right. I think Dr. Christine, excuse me if I mispronounced it, but she says you got to put that work in. You got to actually do the work. And, being a former athlete, I'm not shy when it comes to like putting in the work to get to where I want to get to. And, that same mindset applies. So just being able to show up, and one of the things that I like to say Being in this health wellness space, we often think about R&R as we often think about R&R as rest and relaxation or rest and recovery. The thing that I like to say now is relatability and representation, and that's value. There's value in that, and what I can bring to the table. So yeah.
Yeah, and the other thing that, I like about you, many things, is that you're so, real about your experiences, and you love sharing the love. I mean, you love sharing that what you have so freely been given to give out. And so, um, you do some amazing sessions when it comes to sound. We were talking to
Mm-hmm.
Miho about, his gift of
Mm-hmm.
dance and movement and how that has helped him, but also it's dance therapy and movement therapy is evidence-based, legit. And and so I know that you talk about breathing techniques and sounds. And look, we got to get people coping skills, because baby, when
Mm-hmm.
I'm in those spaces, I be trying to breathe and, do my EMDR and meditation
Mm-hmm.
and affirmations
I
and
don't just do this. I don't just do this just because it look cool. I don't just do this because, whatever the scientific stats say either. I do it because I've actually seen the results on myself. I've actually seen the results of how breathing techniques daily can help change my mood on the spot. I've seen how practicing meditation or showing up to meditate, even on days when I don't want to, right? How that can help me cope with what I'm feeling, right? Sound, you talked about sound. Sound, that's something you can't deny. Everything, it has a sound. Even silence has a sound, and the sound is healing. And that's why music is so powerful, right? We dance to music, we cry to music, we laugh to music. Music touches our soul, and but that just is a science behind that as well. So I practice this because it's beneficial to me, and now I realize, being able to hold space for others in this way to help them, access these self-care tools, breath work, meditation, mindfulness, and sound therapy is a huge opportunity, because like I said, I didn't see that facilitator that looked like me, that sounded like me, that got me interested and open-minded to even go, look into it even more, explore more, because it's all about curiosity.
that's good. Yeah, you're right. That's good stuff. You know, um, we talked about it earlier that our kids are in trouble. For real, for real.
Mhm.
This is the worst I've ever seen it, but I'm not scared of worse, because in times like this is the time that we shine. This is the time we come together. And Johnny, Domino, I have seen him labor and love on kids. I had the privilege of speaking at the DARE graduation a while back, and he's been doing this for 12 years and going out in the community and being that voice and just trying to push hope and, being a good storyteller. Johnny, why is it so important, the work that you do with kids?
It's important. And how y'all doing? I appreciate being part of this panel. Tanya, if you ever needed, I know this is really an intervention for me to go see Dr. Chuck or Dr. Ricard, and y'all ain't had to do all this. I'm willing to go. You didn't even have to do all this, man. I'm on my way back from protesting. If y'all need to see me tomorrow morning, I can get to the doctor. It's fine. I need to see one of y'all. I must admit. But no, Tanya. The thing about the kids is the kids are the future doctors, psychiatrists, lawyers, nurses, stuff like that. And me coming up with I had a trauma-filled childhood. And, I like to use this platform to let people know that I was molested as a child in a foster home. You know what I mean? And I know that the children, like Whitney said, they're the future. So I always try to sew back into the kids and see, could I be that male figure, that positive male figure, with no agenda, with pure love, and show them that there are good people out there. Can I affect a child in a way that I can make them detour from the things that I went through? In April 24th, 1999, I got shot in the back, bullet hit my heart and lungs, my vena cava on my lung, and it came out my chest. Well, I was in the streets real bad, lack of a father. Well, me not having a father made me a great father. Now I fight. I will take any of my baby mamas to court. You're not keeping them away from me. I will give blood and do whatever I got to do to fight for kids. But I think the fight for kids is the most important part. And I like with George. I realize now the outlets that these kids need, and if you keep them busy,
Yeah.
that's the thing. We gotta always be giving back. And I had positive people. Through the course of me seeing everything rough and rugged, growing up with my mom being poor, all I wanted to be was a gangster. As long as I didn't snitch on nobody and I kept it real, that's the only goal I had until I learned that it's so much more in life than the bull crap that people possess and push on us. And I had so much wrong. And I was the best gangster that you'll ever see. But the thing about it is, it's worthless. I'm 42 years old, prove that I can be a taxpaying citizen, a husband, and a father.
So you guys can tell Johnny is on the road. He's headed back to Baton
Need
Rouge.
some stories.
There you go.
Know? Yeah. If I could tell them a story like that and guide them, because it's nothing they can talk about. If we talk about being in foster care, if somebody lost a child, I lost a child to a rare disease called Mickey. He was 2 years old, and I had enough drug money to pay for his funeral and anything that he needed, but I couldn't save my son's life. So it kind of depowered the mental. I had a mental thing that I never had nothing, so I only tried to get money. Now I don't care about it. I don't care about it. As long as I'm taking care of my bills, and I don't care about shining, I don't care about none of that stuff. But if I can reach those kids and correct them, and you got to be in the midst of them to really help them.
Sure.
That's why I'm always,
Yeah. Well, Johnny, like I said, I've seen your work, and I know that, we're probably having some technical difficulties because he's on the road, but we're going to move to our next panelist, and we're going to come back to him because, first of all, the fact that brother's, put out there that he was molested as a child. Don't too many men say that, and so the fact that you were that raw and vulnerable with us, I just want to say thank you, my brother. For real. I really, really do. And yeah, because the foster care system, that's a whole story for another day. But we're going to get back to you. But I am going to say this, and Mijo, I'm just going to tell you this, and we can come back to this later. Y'all can battle it out. But when I first told Johnny, I'm telling Johnny, I'm going to tell it. So when I was first telling, Johnny about, all these amazing panelists that we're going to have, and I was telling him about, we're going to have a special guest, and he's going to be doing this, that, and the third. And Johnny Domino said, you tell that brother he got the crump on lock, but he need to learn how to jig. Okay. I'm just saying, battle call, shots fired. Somebody coming for somebody. I'm going to be all
and wait, now you started that. I can't dance. I knew I was here for counsel, not dancing.
Well, I'm just telling what you told me to tell him. So I'm the messenger. So he said he could teach anybody. So when he come to Baton Rouge, we're going to see what he working with. So I'm just saying. But so the next person is this young man. He, blew me away because, I'm very observant, and I watch everything like it's a crime scene. I really do. I profile everybody. I'm just saying, I know y'all don't like that, but that's the only way I stayed alive this long, when most people didn't think I lived to be past 18, out there acting, goofy. But me having that sixth sense had helped me stay alive. And so as I was when he came, and I didn't know anything about any of their backstories. And so when he got up to speak, it was so precise and so on point. And then afterwards, I saw that there was a lot of other information. And when I looked back to my left, I saw him, and he was sitting like this. And every speaker that was coming up, he was like a sponge. And I'm like, okay, this dude right here, And so Marcus, I just want to say thank you. And Thank you, brother. Thank you. Because, even last night, when I was, struggling and he asked me, how you doing? I'm like, I'm not doing good. And I don't say that too much. And he leaned in, and I appreciate you for leaning in. And that just shows your heart. Why are you so passionate about this work?
Well, first off, I appreciate you for having me and being a part of this awesome panel. But my journey, it started when I was 8 years old. I had both of my parents in my household, and I had a strong team. But then my parents also got a divorce, and as an 8-year-old, seeing that happen, that was something for me that was very triggering and was very traumatic for me in my life. And so if you look at my life now, like sports was kind of my outlet. It was a way to not have to think about things, to go through things at home and act like they never exist. And if anybody can understand going through something at home and then going somewhere else and acting like what just happened at home didn't ever happen, you continue to have these thoughts and things in your head that you have never released before. And so throughout my whole entire life, I had sports, but we don't realize when we're done with sports, we have to deal with those same demons that we didn't deal with when we were a kid. And I understand too what you were saying, Tanja, about. I know you were talking about the social media, and I just truly believe that even through everything that I've been through, faith without works is dead. So even through this work, we still have to do the work. We can pray all day and we could be believers, and I'm a believer in God myself, but also you have to do the work because God will place people in your life like a therapist, like somebody like Soul Cold, meditation, me as a life coach to help build the gap and actually bring you to the healing that you solely desire. So, me going through my suicide, being in the league, it was 2018. I tried to suicide attempt twice, but my mother-in-law and my wife called me. So God gave me two chances. And in those moments of him giving me two chances, that's when the reality set in for me. When I got to the bottom of the hill and I realized that, man, what did I just try to do with myself? Hey, I'm a guy that's of faith. I'm a guy that my whole life I've been good at everything that I've done, football, basketball, soccer. I've been good at everything. But the one thing that I wasn't good at was being vulnerable and actually speaking up when I felt like I had an issue. And so in those moments, when I actually started to become vulnerable, when I walked back in that locker room with Russell Wilson, Bobby Wagner, all of these guys, and they seen that I was walking away from the game that I love, they seen that I was walking away from $2.7 million. They was like, bro, you know what? I'm dealing with that too. I'm going through that right now. What you're dealing with right now, I'm going through that. So in that moment, I was like, you know what? I started my healing process, and that's why I became a life coach to be a bridge for guys. Because guess what? They don't really want to go into therapy, right? They would rather. Some people would rather see somebody like me. I know that I'm short term. I know that I'm somebody that could just stand in the gap. But if I could just be in the gap, that's one less person that will commit suicide. That's one less person that we will lose to something that, they may not go in there because they just don't like the person that's sitting across from them. And so I also want to say that, I'm so passionate about this because the work wasn't done after that. I still had my struggles even when I was done playing. I still had my struggles. I went to a facility, and So Cole knows about this facility. We went there for 30 days, and I was diagnosed with anxiety disorder, depression disorder, PTSD. And I'm going throughout my life like, wait, I thought I was healed. But then in that moment, I realized that healing is a journey, it's a process. Success is not a destination, it's a mindset. So I'm like, whoa, so this is why I'm so passionate about this work. And I know that kids, adults, people in college, if they see somebody like me who's speaking about it, they're more likely to actually maybe go get the help that they need.
Absolutely. And again, thank you for, saying that one of your challenges was being vulnerable. Well, brother, that ain't that now. And so I'm just super excited to be on this journey with you and your family, and just thank you for, sharing. And, I have another question that I'll get back to you in a few. So, Greg DeCherry, Greg is from Baton Rouge, and I've been knowing Greg for a long time. Matter of fact, when, Greg, we just go back a long way. We have, when Greg got married, I was able to officiate the wedding. I remember when his daughter was, born. We have been through some great times together. Matter of fact, I was looking at TV today, and the Dr. Phil show was on. And so it was talking about seeing teen suicide. And so one of the episodes that's airing tomorrow, y'all, is going to be on a young lady that Greg did this amazing film on. Shameless plug for me that I'm in that film as a peer support specialist. And it's called My Ascension. And it's brilliantly done because Greg is like a videographer ninja. You don't even know he's in the room, and you're sharing your stuff, and then it pops up on the screen, and I'm like, so when did I say that? And so another famous film that has gotten amazing awards all across the world is Suicide: The Ripple Effect, and that is Greg's brilliantly way to tell a story with the lens. So Greg, you already know how I feel about you. We've been down in it, we've been up in it. We like brothers and sisters. I know I can piss you off like nobody else's business, but you can never piss me off. Hey, Greg.
Hey, yeah, blessed to be on here. Thanks. Great hearing everybody. Dr. Chuck, I'm probably as old as you are, so don't feel bad. I just don't have the tweed jacket on and and the beard. But yeah, my journey, I've made some films. I also Tanja was talking about PEC or protective custody. I've had that literally like 15 times since 2000 or since 1995. I was actually living in LA then, and was doing a music video for Christian hip hop group, these kids, and started to trip out, for lack of a better word. Ended up walking naked down Martin Luther King Boulevard, was arrested, was put in the hospital, was diagnosed with bipolar disorder and having substance use disorder. They told me if I didn't take these medications and stop doing drugs and alcohol, I was going to keep ending up in places like that. And I didn't had that. I couldn't believe that I was bipolar, because what I had experienced was so real to me. It didn't make sense that it was a mental disorder. And I certainly couldn't see stopping smoking weed. That was like my medicine. And so I had just many years in and out of hospitals. My first few episodes were all around doing film projects, where I would kind of like get it together. I would start doing a film project. I would take, stop taking the medication, take less and less medication, start smoking weed again, doing coke, whatever it may be. And I keep having those same results, and I finally found recovery through 12-step recovery, through rooms of that in Arizona. And that was true blessing, because really at the foundation and core of that is we get better by helping other people get better, and so that was kind of what I was able to get conveyed to me, and then started a youth program back in Arizona in 2008, which is geared towards young people who have experience with things like mental health, substance use, foster care, juvenile justice, and teaching them the same things and showing them how they can like flip the switch basically and start using their negative experiences as a positive by being able to help themselves by sharing it, but also by helping other people through their experience. So, I still struggle. Like just probably less than a year ago, Tanja was part of a family team that helped me get, she was worried about Dr. Chuck and Miss Christina petitioning her. But, sometimes you just got to do it, like, to be real, because I get out there and I'm not, one to just, oh, you need to go to the hospital. Once I get past to a certain point, I think I'm king of the world, and I'm like just out there. So the only way I will get help is by being petitioned into the hospital. And thankfully I was. Thankfully she bought me a pack of cigarettes and there, and so, you know, back on this journey. But I've been dealing with a lot of, you know, anxiety and depression over the last year, last little while, and just, you know, keeping on. And my, you know, recovery looks like, you know, 12-step recovery. I see a psychiatrist, I take medication, I see a therapist, I dabble in meditation. Here Mr. Soul talk about, you know, that is something definitely need to get more into. So it's a journey. You know, I've been blessed to make a couple films, and but, you know, still dealing with myself and just you know, keeping the faith.
And not only that, but you're also amazing storyteller, like I said, through film, but also the spoken word. And you guys, you won't hear from him tonight, but on another platform, you will, believe that. But you know, Greg, I never forget one of the most beautiful moments, you know, for me in just this helping people and friendship and family is that, you know, you and I both talk about our struggles, and we can call each other and be raw and real and not scare people. Because sometimes, you know, when I'm in that place of depression, you know, I'm looking at my family and friends look at me and they're scared as hell, you know, and because they've never seen me, you know, in that state, because they always see me strong. But, you know, first of all, you know, your house is dope. You know, I hardly ever use that word, but it is legit. As y'all can see, that is not a fake um hooch little behind them. I'm all about orange. And so he was having a challenging time, and I just came over and I just wanted my friend to sleep. And I remember, just saying, look, here's some water, just lay in the bed. We're gonna turn the air conditioner down. And as he laid in the bed, I laid on the floor inside of him, and I watched my friend sleep. And he was so peaceful. And he's handsome already, but he was even more handsome when he was asleep at peace. And I'll never forget that moment. I don't know if you remember that.
Mm-hmm.
That was sacred to me. And so thank you for allowing me to share that sacred space, and yeah. And so that's why you so good at what you do. Now, speaking of you guys being so good at what you do, and the time is moving fast. So in the next 20 minutes that we have, I want to pose this to each panelist, because we're talking about how do we keep this conversation going. May is over, we still got the rest of the year. So I'm going to start off first with Miho. Miho, how do you plan to keep this conversation going and using your gift to do it?
Well, just continue to do what I'm already currently doing. I'm extremely active in the community of street culture or street dance. So like constantly teaching, finding ways to connect more with you, people that's on this panel, reaching out, figuring out how I can get involved with whatever anybody has going, and tying my culture, my resources to whatever opportunity is there. But I feel like the smooth talking brother.
So
So he said, regardless of the stats, like some people get their results by application. That I am a product of that. Like I live this idea of what's helping people. Like I dance constantly, and I am a product of what movement can do for an individual. So like I really know through consistency what sound and vibration can do to one person. So I'm just going to keep applying practice and day in and day out work to keep providing opportunities for myself. That's how I feel like our energies crossed. It wasn't by chance. I think it was meant for us to run across each other in order for these opportunities to exist. So it's just continue to do what I am doing. I'm walking in my purpose, and I'm gonna continue to do that and figure things out.
well, you're doing a great job of doing that. And guys, I talked about earlier about a piece that he did, and it was, it went viral, and I remember seeing it and going, who is this guy? And first of all, can a human really move like that? And so it was doing a protest in, California, and you just got out there, and I'm sure you were feeling some kind of way, and you just begin to dance, and wow.
That's so funny because it wasn't a piece. Like all of those cameras were definitely other individuals that were there live. Um, I um, I I'm so present. I'm just present. I went to protest down there with one of my friends. I was completely trying to um, like not move in that direction because I just know what protesting looks like in Los Angeles, California. So at the time, it was probably like really evident that like there's a lot going on. So didn't want to get mixed up with the wrong crowd of people that were protesting. But anyway, one of my close friends, um, Greg, his name is Bad News, really dope creative. He's a barber. But anyway, he was like, "Yo, come down there with me. Let's go down. It'll be safe." We went down there and it was crazy. It was mayhem. Like the police were, yeah, we got shot as far as like little rubber bullets, like cars were on fire, buildings was getting broken into. So I was like, my God, I left there feeling really conflicted. Like I just had a lot of energy that was pent up just from that day. And I remember I was like, all right, tomorrow let's go down there as well. Like let's just go down there tomorrow. And I have a feeling that I want to get out. And I was like, I don't know what it's going to be. I just want to go down there. So we went down there and it was just expressing my art. Like Crump is a very Crump is it's super spiritual, but it has a different attack on it depending on the person that it's on. And I'm a very aggressive, in your face person. So it was just a release, and I was happy that the platform was there to be captured. Like I couldn't believe that many people captured those moments. And yeah, like after that day, I just seen it on social media, and it became like a little like it was a lot of good things. It was jokes for people. It was an outlet for many. But we turned a couple of people reached out to me, and we turned that into a project. Like the Washington Post, they had a couple of people that were videotaping it, and they spoke with the Washington Post, and I actually got with them to turn that into like a creative content. And so it wasn't planned. So that wasn't like something I had in mind to do. It was just really natural, and it turned into something because everybody um, they need moments of like being in the now and not overthinking the outcome. And I'm one of those people. Like I'll apologize later if I offend you, but I'm gonna say something that's on my heart type man. So like it felt good to see people appreciate it and to see people like take shots at it because it's all needed.
That's good. Yeah. And you did that. And so just talking about using your gift to be your voice and to keep a conversation going. And that happened many years ago. And so we're still having that conversation. So Greg, in 2 minutes, how do you plan to use your voice and your gift to keep this conversation going about mental wellness?
I mean, I love collaborating with people. I love, drawing more attention to people that are already out there doing good work. I mean, I like, I'll share my story, but I prefer to share stories like yours and like others of like people who are on this platform, because I think, there's so much we can do as individuals. And I know everybody here is doing a lot of stuff in their own communities and reaching a lot of people, but if you can take that to the masses. So that's kind of been one of my goals for a while within doing, both the films that I did are people who have that lived experience and who are literally saving lives with their stories. So being able to put some of that out there for more people to hear it is, is a blessing. Same thing with you, Miss Tanja, and your powerful story and, message. I think whatever I can do to help shine more light on that, because it's only going to help more people, then I'll do that.
Yeah, brother, you know I'm setting you up. You know that already. So yeah, Marcus, what you got? I mean, how are you going to continue to use your gift and your voice to keep this conversation going?
Well, considering I kind of do the same thing I've been doing these past 2 weeks, I've been in the community, especially here in DC, Southeast DC, been speaking to the kids, telling them about what 988 is and telling them about what mental health is all about. And so that's how I will continue to push the message forward. Then I also have a podcast with my brother Soul Code, where we'll bring on guests who will talk about mental health, whether they're a therapist, whether they're playing in the NFL today or the NBA. So we can continue the message going, because we all know that May it's almost like Black History Month. Like, y'all put mental health in just a 1 month, right? In which it's not. It's something that is a healing process for each and every day. And I think the more that we talk about it, bring awareness to it, then also partnering with people who have the answers will be the next move for me.
Right. Thank you so much for that. Johnny, if you're still with us, you know, how do you plan to continue to use your voice and your gift to keep this conversation going?
Yeah, stop me if it breaks up, Tanya. What I want to do is every obstacle and trial that I go through that God allows me to keep on living through and make it through, I'm gonna keep being transparent. The transparency from this group makes me respect all of y'all. I realize that I love to tell my stories. I love to be open about it once I've gotten past it. And I believe my transparency and me opening up to people and just having conversations with people one-on-one, and always, I'm always working with public to me. You know that. But the thing about it is, I just want to keep telling my story, because there's somebody out there that's going through the exact same thing that I'm going through. And if I keep it suppressed and I don't tell nobody, I may be able to save. If I save anybody, it's a blessing. So I'm gonna keep on working with the people hands-on, like one-on-one, and keep my transparency. I want you to, when you see me again, I want you to ask me about my story about when I met anxiety, because I also got mad. I didn't even hear that thing that you saw, but I'm one of the toughest dudes you ever meet, and anxiety beat the crap out of me. I'm talking about, man, I thought I couldn't be beat, and it's crazy. It's dealing with people internally. I just want people to know that there's a lot of people going through what you're going through, whether they admit it or not. And I salute all you warriors. And I'm one called Tanya, a very trusted people in my city of Baton Rouge. I look forward to helping and assisting in any way. Soul Cold, just to hear you talk, it calmed me down on this bus, because I was getting anxious. Like, everybody started saying it, Tanya said it out the gate, and then you started talking, and it was like, woosah. Like, dude, bro, you calmed me down, and I still don't know how to meditate. I'm too hyperactive. Y'all got to show me. But I got calm, bro, and I know, I got to admit that. I ain't scared, bro. I'm telling you, I got chill. I was antsy on this bus, and I'm ready to walk, ready to stretch my legs, but your whole talk, tone, aura, man, keep it up, brother. Y'all gonna show me how to meditate one day, and hopefully I can get that calm and stop being so hyped. It's all good, and I appreciate y'all.
Yeah, well, let me know when you do that, because I hadn't mastered that yet. I had to get me a dog to calm me down. Matter of fact, my dog has a shirt now that says, "I don't bite, but my mama might. That's why she got me."
Tell Misty I said hey.
Yeah, I will. But let me just say this too now. So I just want to go ahead and do this so we can move on. But did you call out Miho? Wait, first of all, Miho, can you jig?
No.
Wait, what?
He answered for me. He said, "No,
No, me. I saw Miho dancing. You're not finna set me up, Tanja. I saw that guy dance. I know I can't win. I got 2 left feet. I got some kids down here that when you come, these kids gonna teach you how to jig, bro.
let's go. I need it. I need it."
Okay. Well, we coming for you. I'm just saying, Battle of Baton Rouge, we coming for you. We gonna crump it up, jig it up. You gonna, what's the song say? Touchdown and cause hell. Anyway, yeah, so much for that. Speaking of calming down, Soul Cole, how will you continue to use your voice and your gifts to keep this conversation going?
I'm gonna continue to show up and do the work. I just recently got my health and wellness coaching certification at Georgetown, so I'm gonna show up in that space. Eventually, with your help and your assistance, I'm gonna get my peer support certification as well. That's gonna allow me to even help and show up for more people. And just continue to tell my story. We're all on this panel, we're all storytellers. Everybody is an artist. Everybody, even though it doesn't have to be your name, you know what I'm saying? Like my brother right here, but we all have that in our soul and our spirit to create, to tell stories. And I will continue to share my story and use the voice that I've been blessed with and to speak from my heart, right? And my brother Johnny, I know you said you not comfortable with your meditation process, but that's why I put this project out for y'all. I put this meditation mixtape volume 1 out last year on all streaming platforms. So I'm gonna put that in the chat, and that's for y'all. You know what I'm saying? That's a resource, right? It's just because meditation doesn't have to look the same. And I think there's a stigma on that, right? That's a whole nother podcast, right? We always think that you gotta be sitting, cross-legged, just like this, eyes closed, right? That's not comfortable for me all the times. I'm 6'6". Sometimes I don't like to be, you know what I'm saying? I don't like to be like that. I like to go for a walk, or I like to, ride a bike. It can look different ways. And that's the beautiful part about it. So that's another outlet. I'm gonna continue to let my authentic voice, my authentic expression show itself, and keep this message going.
That's what
365 all the way live.
for sure, for sure. That's so cool. And Juno, same question to you. How will you use your gift and your voice to keep this conversation going?
You're gonna make me follow the young sensei over there who coaching us all up right now.
So-
I appreciate y'all, man. Look, it ain't complicated. It's what I always say, Tanja. We're gonna get the food to the people. We're gonna stop arguing about the recipe. We're gonna stop arguing about who the server is and just get the food to the people. They'll eat what they need, they'll leave what they don't need. It's what I've been saying from day one.
Bars. That boy got bars. That boy Juno got bars.
The last thing though that I want to leave you with is a bar that's not mine. It's from my favorite poem. It's called Desiderata. I urge everyone to read it if you've never read it. Max Ehrman, 1927. And the last line of this poem says, with all of its sham, drudgery, and broken dreams, the world is still a beautiful place. Be cheerful and strive to be happy. That's what we do. That's
Drop the
all
mic one time.
That's how we do it. That's good, brother. That's good. And Dr. Ricard, same message, same question for you. And also, if you don't mind collaborating, these beautiful voices who share their story so beautifully and so authentic. And how cool is this?
Yeah, I'm telling you, I am just soaking it all in. I plan to continue this conversation by showing up in my spaces that God has given me influence in. I know sometimes I have the tendency to go out of my my area of influence and think about, okay, the world. Your world is where you are. So if that is at your community, your school, your religious organizations, different area, your family, your acquaintances, your friends, show up and start having these conversations. Check in, letting them know like, hey, I'm here. We just had a panel discussion. If I'm here, if you need resources, give them my information. If I can't see them, then I can definitely refer them to some really great therapists. So it's just about having that influence where you are, and just practicing good self-care for yourself, because you cannot pour from an empty cup. And we just need to take heed to what we learned here on tonight.
That's good. Thank you, Doc, for the work that you're doing. When I first met you, you had me at hello. And I'm just grateful to get to do this work for you, with you. And so, your family is beautiful, and, your soul is, and just thank you for the work that you do. I know how hard it is. And, and I just want to say thank you for all of us, from all of us who have these beautiful brains that are different, that makes us unique and beautiful and amazing and creative and also goofy and all that good stuff. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you for being a peacemaker, because at the end of the day, you help us make peace with ourselves. And when I'm at peace with myself, it's easy for me to be at peace with others. And so that would make the world so much a beautiful place if we dealt with trauma that looks like drama. Dr. Chuck, as a psychiatrist, you've been in this work a long time, and talking about, basically, you've heard these amazing peer support specialists in the making coming up. And how do you feel? I know how you're going to keep use your gifts and your voice, but also talk about the power of lived experience. Just so you guys know, this is being streamed live on Facebook and Instagram, and also it will be made available for you guys to take and use and share with other people, because this conversation has to keep going. And also, too, Doc talked about resources. We will be putting resources in the chat. 988, like somebody mentioned, like NAMI, my mind is blessed, just other resources that are out there that can help people. Psychology Today, if you like, what, I think it's time for me to see a therapist. Well, all you have to do is just go on psychologytoday.com, put in your zip code and where you live, and then all this plethora of amazing people that you can now pick out to be your counselor or your therapist. So, it's information like that. We're not just telling a story, just so we clear. We're out here pushing hope and resources. And so, Doc, what do you got after all these beautiful things that you've heard?
Well, that's the number one thing I've got, is listen to the beautiful things we've heard. That is the power of lived experience and the essence of the things that we've seen and heard today. Lived experience has such an ability to engage and connect us to each other, and especially has an ability to help on multiple different levels. Individually, I see peer supports all the time break through and create a connection of both hope and engagement for folks who are in a tough place, and make it okay, and be a mentor and a model to walk through and share that. So that's one level. The second is within companies, when companies hire peers that do mental health services and really empower them within the company to have voice, and encourage all staff, nurses, doctors, clinicians, licensed clinicians, to come from a peer-powered perspective and think about the person that they're caring for. Think about them as if they're their own family member and not be burned out, but have empathy and connection. That's very powerful. And then finally, I think having that peer voice and lived experience voice in legislation, social media, and all of the big picture levels to help us continue to look at designing a better system, because we do have treatments and things that work. We just don't have enough people engaged and connected to treatment across our country. And so that it's like a 3-level piece that's represented a lot here in different ways in this panel, but it's very, very powerful and very, very important.
Yeah, and just shout out to RI International, who y'all know I love, and yeah, I have favorites, they're mine. But David Covington and you, Doc, and all the amazing people, you guys are leading the charge when it comes to certifying peer support specialists and 988 and all things crisis now, and all of the good stuff that I did not think I would see in my lifetime. And so I just want to say thank you so much, for real, and all the amazing work that you guys do at ORI International and just all across the country, y'all, because they're worldwide, for real. They're all over the place. And, and that's the beautiful thing about this panel and what we're doing, is that, we can go to the curbside, to the country club. We can go to where people are homeless and talk to them and share our lived experience and love on them and show them compassion, but still go on the Hill and be all about that life and testify, before Congress and presidents and whoever, lions, tigers, and bears. And we're not scared, because we're passionate about what we do. And we have street credit, for real, that part. And we're well informed. We're just not passionate, we're well informed. And so I just want to say thank you, Doc, for all the work that you do. And I just want to say thank you to everybody who's been on this panel. Shout out to Ebony and George, who's been keeping it going behind the scenes and who, who are amazing in my life. You guys are a blessing and you guys are amazing. And, you helped me and I just appreciate it. But I also want to say that, you will not see these guys last. I did set all of y'all up. I did. You already, most of y'all know that I did. More's coming. But we're going to continue to tell this story and we're going to scream hope. That's how we started this, scream hope. And we're going to scream hope, help, and healing and resources to people. And we know that every one of us in this space, we come from different backgrounds. And so what might work for me might not work for someone else. And they might need to hear a voice of Amiho, or they might just need to hear Dr. Chris just break it down like she did. And so many different spaces that we're going to be going out to. And so as we close, we're not done. For real. We're not done. There's strength in numbers. I'm a military girl and I'm all about that mission. And you guys most to know that I've talked to you on this conversation. Y'all already know what I say, stay in the ready, because we have to be ready to mobilize and move out because people need us. And you guys have great experiences and great hearts and passion and street cred and knowledge that we have to push out. We have to scream hope out loud, because the media outlets and social media and all of that stuff, they're screaming a lot of stuff, and our voice have to be loud and proud as well. And so on that note, I love this work. I wake up every day like I'm gonna save the world. Most days I kick butt, then there's a lot of days I get my butt kicked. And so I love my community and I love my country. And I love doing this work. And so as we grow and go on these journeys, our journeys change. And, we've been gracious to, have Set Free Indeed for 20 something years and, have a treatment center and all of the good stuff. And, work with President Bush, for 6 years. I'm not Democrat or Republican, and push his voice of hope and go out and share with people the resources and ways that they can get funding to continue the mission and the work that they do, and work with people like Greg and other people. And, my book is coming out next month, From the Crack House to the White House. And then next year, and I think they're doing this because, doing the whole presidential thing, I can't say what name of the streaming source, but most of y'all chill to it. That movie comes out at the end of next year. And, but that's great. But starting tomorrow, I get to do something really cool. Tomorrow, I officially take my role with the Huntsman Foundation and the Huntsman Mental Health Institute. I will be going back and forth to Salt Lake a lot, but I'll still be home and traveling all over the place. But this will afford me, this little Black girl from Baton Rouge with the big teeth and the big forehead, to really use my voice, because I'm not scared. My life is not my own. I'm not scared to die. And the Huntsman family, according to the New York Times, they're one of the most philanthropic families in our country. Fun fact, John Huntsman, the dad, when Warren Buffett and Bill Gates and some other folks came together who were billionaires, and they pledged to give half of their money away. John Huntsman was one of the first men who did that, but he had been giving away billions way before that even happened. His family is amazing. Their story of hope, and having a sister who died by a drug overdose and who had mental health challenges. That's why they're so passionate about this work. There's two things that they said that they wanted to do, and that was to attack and address cancer. And they have one of the best research centers around the country. And so my role with them will be a very amazing one, because they're amazing people. And the cool thing about it is that they don't just want to give, they want to live the work. And I've had the opportunity to meet, Miss Karen, go in their home, and they basically accepted me like I was their daughter. And if she would have lived, she probably would have been me. And so me sitting at their table with their family felt like family. And so they have a pledge to eradicate stigma around mental health and substance abuse. And they're not playing, and I'm not playing. And, you know, starting tomorrow, I'm coming in hot. And most of these, everybody on this call, you know, will be a part of helping me do that in many different ways. And so you want to see us. This won't be the last time you see us. So I'm grateful. I'm thankful to the Huntsman Foundation and the family and David and Christina. And I love them so much. And I'm excited about this journey. I'm excited that we're going to be breaking ground to the biggest, I think the first mental health and substance abuse research center in the country. It's huge, y'all. And the stabilization center and all the other work that they're doing, not only in Utah, but across the country. And so I just want to say there's strength in numbers and we all need each other. And that's why we're here tonight. And we're going to continue to keep this conversation going. We're not playing. We love hard, we serve hard, and we play hard. And so I just want to say thank you guys to sharing this space with us, all of us. You guys who are on this panel, you know how I feel about you. The ones who I've known the longest and the ones I've just met. You know, thank you so much. And I'm excited about this journey. And like I say, stay ready and stay ready and stay ready, because we don't have a lot of time left on this earth. I know I don't. And I plan to be more intentional like never before. And so for all of you guys who are listening, if you're live or if you're listening another time, we want to let you know that you are loved, you have purpose, you are not a mistake, that you can be great, and don't let nobody tell you anything different. And reach out for help. There's help, there's hope. And there's so many people who are in the ready, waiting to help you. If you need help, those resources that I talked about, NAMI, go to their website. You can go to RI International. You can go 988. Very simple. You can also do Safe Utah, you know, which is an app. You don't even have to be in Utah. That is live, that you can call right now or chat. Even if this conversation has triggered you, call 988, call Safe Utah. There are people right there that's qualified and credentialed to help you. And we just love this space that we're in, but you know, now we have to go and rest, because there's blessing in resting. Our brains is just like any other organ in our body. We have to learn how to shut it down and let it recover so we can wake up and be great, like we all are destined to be. But at the end of the day, I want you guys to know, who are listening, you're not the only one. There's so many people who are like you, who are like us. And when you get in those spaces where the enemy will tell you you'll never make it, you'll never get out of this funk, you'll never get out of this black hole, you'll never amount to nothing, whatever the case may be, know that you will, know that you can. It's going to take work, and you are not the only one. And that's why all of us are here to live our truth out loud, to be authentic and to be real. But not only that, to stand in there ready to help. Because at the end of the day, you know, we all got good stories, but we also have great resources, and there's strength in numbers. So I just want to say thank you. Guys, sleep well tonight. Do something nice for yourself tonight. I appreciate you guys, and stay tuned for what's coming up next, because we're coming in hot and we're not playing. And like I say every day, go be great. Wake up every day like you're on a mission. Matthew 6:33. Peace.
Peace and love.